Hey everybody, we're back this year 2026. Happy New Year's, everyone. We're here with our special guest, Christian Strayhorn, and a numismatic education director. Today's episode's title is Education, Collecting, and the Future of Coins in the Changing Financial World. I'm going to give you guys a little update on what's going on in the numismatic industry. So let me share a little bit on what's going on my end. Um, so yeah, of course, relative to the market conditions, that does increase the value of numismatics and interest. So I want to show a little bit what's going on in the what I have here. So I'll share my image. Go back here. Okay, share my screen. Let's go over here. Anyways, so yeah, I got a little infographic of what's going on. So basically, I want to show you guys what's going on in the bullion and numismatic sales. So the 2025 S 250th anniversary U.S. Navy proof silver eagle. These are for the U.S. Mint. These have been very interesting in sales. The 2025 Mint sets, the West proof, their W proof silver eagle, and 2025 proof U.S. Marine Corps 250th anniversary. I know those were very interesting. And then, of course, the Innovation Dollar proof set, we're doing pretty good. And then the American Innovation Dollar coin reserve proof, which sold over 36,000 units in the first week. So that did very well. And then eBay had a top sale for 3.2K for a King Charles III 50p coin. And then just kind of touching on some of the bullion and numismatic sales as well. The gold American Eagle, Buffalo as well, Australian silver kangaroo, which is bullion, and then of course generic, silver rounds and whatnot, and then palladium as well is being sold. And then I want to touch on the top 5 sales of all times. Of course, we mentioned this before about the 1794 um, flowing hair dollar, which did sell for over 10 million, but that was back in 2013. So, I mean, of course, inflation that probably is going to be around 15 million, I would think. But nothing has sold at that pedigree yet. And then NGC had their 9.3 million 1787 Ephraim Brasher doubloon, which is 2021. And then the PCGS 7.6 million 1804 class Stackbauer sale as well. And then PCGS 1870 $3 gold heritage auction sold. And that's 2023. So we're getting up there in the years, but nothing significant has sold in the last few years. I know there was something, I think this last week for like 350K, but and then another flowing hair dollar was sold for about $5 million. So yeah, and then heritage auctions. I wanted to touch on. They had a 2.15 billion in sales as of 2025. So they have that coming events, which is the Fun U.S. Coin Signature Auction. That's January 14th and 17th. And then you're going to have the Dre Bust as well being sold. They're going to project that to be sold over $1 million. And then past fun events as well. A 3.84 million sold the rarest issued 20th century U.S. coin, which is the St. Gaudens Double Eagle. Actually, I believe the Double Eagle did sell this week. I believe at Heritage, or was it Stackbauer's? I'm not sure, but that sold for the 350K. Actually, got that info this morning. And then Cat Bust, right half eagle for 3 million, and then a 1792 silver center cent, which sold for which pushed the sales for 65.4 at the event. So interesting. Just to
A lot of
touch on. What was that?
activity, high end activity. It's great.
Yeah, exactly. So we can see some good sales coming up on the fun events happening next week.
The
I know
fun
one of
show's
them.
going on right now.
Oh, it's going on right now? Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because I know one of our guests couldn't join us this week because they were uh, attending that event, or they're running a booth, I believe.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, and then yeah, we'll jump into it. Let's see, over here. So, give a little introduction of myself. My name is Dustin Lee, host of American Coin Currency here, social media, doing marketing and whatnot. I've been in the coin collecting since I was a kid. Got on eBay in 1999, got into Pokemon cards, and since then I kind of just had a knack at collecting whatever had some value for myself, for nostalgia and whatnot. And we have John Mayde, CEO, founder of American Coin Currency, and maybe a little background on yourself, just get everyone up to date.
Sure. My name is John Mayde. Christian, thank you for coming today and being part of this. Let me start with that. I'm the CEO and founder of American Coin and Currency, located down here in beautiful West Palm Beach, Florida. I've been involved with coins my entire life, and so about 20 years ago, I had the opportunity to just basically pick what I wanted to do. And so back then I was like, let me see if I could turn this hobby into a business. And that's what we've done. And now American Coin and Currency is thriving. We're lifetime members of the ANA, lifetime members of FUN, Florida United Numismatists. And we're huge advocates in educating not only customers, but the general public in the do's and don'ts of collecting and investing in coins. And so that's important to us. And that's kind of our theme almost every week, is bringing experts like yourself to bring awareness of what's happening in the numismatic industry. And so it's been a wonderful ride for me. These past 20 years have been the best of my life being in this business.
Fantastic. Yeah, and introducing Christian Strayhorn, Education Director of American Numismatic ANA. A little bit about her. I got some information. You're born and raised in North Carolina. Christian has spent 17 years of education, working across community colleges, public, private, and charter international schools in the U.S., El Salvador, Brazil, and China. Your history teacher in school administration after earning a BA in history from North Carolina State University, graduating summa cum laude, hopefully I didn't butcher that, followed by a master's in history from University of Nebraska in Kearney. You received numerous honors in Transatlantic Outreach Program Fellowship in Germany, National Endowment for Humanities Fellowship at UC Berkeley, UPenn in Global Education and Entrepreneurship, Harvard Business School in School Management and Leadership. You spent 2.5 years in ANA in this last 2 years. You've completely redesigned. We went over some of that behind the scenes through the Numismatics Diploma Program. You created into an interactive online format. So Aristotle's Vault Masterclass style videos, organize youth education initiatives, and help launch Young Numismatics of America, which has over 100 members at this time. So yeah, you've quite revamped ANA. Yeah, I'd love to get your take on like how that went about and where you're at right
now. Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's very exciting anytime I get to talk about education, but especially numismatic education. I get very excited and passionate and animated. So, bear with me. It's been a great journey to get here. And anytime I get the opportunity to speak about what we have to offer, which I honestly think is astounding in what we've been able to do in the past 2.5 years, I'm super excited. So thank you both for having me here today. I joined the ANA in spring of 2023. And when I joined, not to say anything bad about anybody because they've done phenomenal work for years, but there was a lot that needed to be updated. And so I jumped in and driven with education, but also with a newfound love of numismatics, decided it was time to do and revamp and make things relevant. And so together, my team in the education department sat down, we created a mission for ourselves, obviously part of the ANA mission, but ultimately we wanted to lead the world in numismatic education. And in the process of doing that, we wanted to make our experiences engaging, relevant, and dynamic. And we picked those words very, very specifically because we felt like numismatic education had a tendency to be dull, ignore, or push away people who weren't like true blood numismatists collecting since they were 3 years old type thing. And so we wanted them to be relevant, dynamic, and engaging. And I'm excited to share with you guys today some of those things.
Fantastic. Yeah, I love how you kind of jumped in the fold and really changed things around. Like you mentioned, before we started, that 75% of that was information that was already provided and pretty much standard. But seeing that there is been updates over time when it comes to certain counterfeiting or some type of identification when it comes to certain coins and whatnot, that you've been able to kind of reprise that information into the educational aspect. So
absolutely. I mean, I tell people all the time, numismatics, when you're looking at coins, one of the really cool things about coin collectors particular is that they're collecting the same coins. That's not to say new coins don't come into the fold that are interesting, but most people aren't collecting. Hardcore numismatists aren't collecting state quarters necessarily, right? Or women's quarters. They're into the 1856 Flying Eagle, and they want that Mercury dime, and they want and those things. They're trying to complete a set or whatever they're doing, and that information doesn't necessarily change that much over time, right? That counterfeit 6 on that 1856 Flying Eagle is still the biggest indicator, and it has been for years and years, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, right? But with that, we also now have Chinese counterfeiting, right? So the last book that was put out on counterfeiting by the ANA to educate people on just kind of what to look for didn't even mention China, right? And now in the past 15 years, you're looking at a whole entire people on Amazon, on eBay, selling silver eagles for $100 for, things like that. And so that dynamic and that change is important. And so that's one of our new things. And that's where that word relevance comes in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of, outlook from, the information that's been provided over the years. Yeah, and things have changed, the access of coins and ability to counterfeit has been significant. I see that on eBay all the time. Like there's some eagle that's like $20 or something like that. Something, it's like,
or buy in bulk on Amazon is actually really one of the things we see. Like, for $1,000, buy this many, and it's like, are there even that many? Like, what years are you looking at? Like, what and it's not to insult anyone who falls into that trap, because if you talk, I've worked a lot with really, significant education numismatists. I've worked with, Jeff Garrett and Don Ketterling and these people. And we've created these video series. And, even they would tell stories of, I sold this. It was a fake holder. I didn't know it was a fake holder. It tricked everyone in my office. The guy went home, found out, brought it back. And of course, as ethically, and as someone who has a reputation in the field, I honored it, accepted the return. But he's like, we all make mistakes. Even those of us who've been doing this for years and are considered experts, like, we make mistakes. And so our approach is not to be like, well, did you do your homework? Did you do this? That's, you did this wrong. Our approach is everything's a learning opportunity. We hope it didn't cost you everything. But next time you'll know to look for this, and this. And so, again, our approach is to welcome people at all levels, from novice collectors to advanced collectors, and provide something for everyone.
So do you see, when you first started, what was kind of like the gap? I know we mentioned the one part about the 75%, but maybe go into the younger generation and missing kind of portions.
Absolutely. So when I came into the ANA, I looked at one of the reasons they brought me in specifically is because I had years in education as a history teacher and as a school administrator. So they were looking for someone who had experience with online learning management systems. That was the mission, and a lot of people don't know that, of the ANA before they even brought me in. It wasn't like I came in and said, let's go online. It was, we're going online. We need someone who can take us there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they brought me in, and initially I did kind of an assessment of gaps, like what is it, and then where is it? And the biggest gaps were just basically in the approach to education. And this does relate directly to numismatics. So for example, when you think about education, even when I was getting my teaching degree, even when I was in school, we're talking, I graduated with my BA in 2006. So we're talking, yes, almost 20 years ago at this point, but we're not talking about 1980, right?
Right.
And so when I it was this, we need to feed this amount of information to students, and students need to be able to say this information. Well, in that 25-year period, our access to information has totally changed. We have everything at our fingertips. I mean, even with AI now, things are scary at our fingertips. Like things I'm like, oh, I don't know that people really need to know that quickly. Like it's there. And so the shift in education that's happened in the field is to shift from teaching people facts to teaching people tools. So rather than having people memorize, for example, every counterfeit coin and every characteristic of every counterfeit coin, or how every grade looks, you can go and you can use photo grade now. You can go and you can pull up this. It's how do you access the tools? And more importantly, how do you access the tools, the right tools, that you're not on some fake website, or that you're not on something that's going to cause phishing in your email, or that so it's about educating people on the how rather than the what, because the what is there. So the first thing we did when I came in was we updated the what. We need the correct information. We need to make sure our information is updated. I was telling you, I sat down to read the first Introduction to Numismatics book when I started, and page 3, it's talking about King Emmanuel III's son being a collector, and I'm like, King Emmanuel III? It's like World War II. Like, is this guy alive? And I Google him, and of course, he died in the 1980s, right? And I'm like, okay, so some information doesn't change, some does. So how do we make this accessible? And so we moved it online, and we made it self-paced, and we made it inquiry-based. So rather than asking people questions like a DMV test, A, B, C, A and B, B and C, all the above, none of the above, A, if this happens, C, if you're, it's raining outside, whatever, to, hey, now that you've learned this, find a coin, describe this, right? Like, so it's about applying your knowledge and using the tools that we provide.
Yeah, that's important. There's a lot of tools at this point. You guys have really done a lot on the website. I really enjoyed seeing that. So I'm going to share the website here.
Yeah, we built it. I discussed this a little bit with you before we went live. We built it with this idea of, it's called the E-Learning Academy. If you go to money.org/elearning, it's this idea that the ancient academy, the great minds would come and they would sit and they would talk and they would discuss philosophy and art and all these things. And numismatists like to talk about coins and collecting too, right? So we decided that we would take the most important pieces of our education, which you can see right here on your screen. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things listed there. Aristotle's Vault, Numismatalks, Young Numismatists, our numismatic diploma program, and our video archive. And basically each one of those is like a pillar, if you think about a Roman or a Greek building, in creating this entire or holistic knowledge base for people who are interested in numismatics. My favorite thing right there, as you're pointing at, is the numismatic diploma program. This is our 4-course series. Our 4-course series includes Introduction to Numismatics, Grading U.S. Coins, detecting counterfeit and altered coins, and the modern minting process and error coins. And we've taken those from being correspondence books with kind of DMV tests to these online interactive learning experiences. And the cool thing is, as you go through the course, it leads you to click this link and it takes you to a video, or it takes you to an article from the Numismatist, or it takes you to, the most relevant news article that's just been written. So everything is linking you to live, accurate information, updated information. And then we redesigned we created Aristotle's Vault. Aristotle's Vault is a masterclass style series. So basically, if you click on Aristotle's Vault there for me, Dustin, where it says get started, you'll see we have worked with numismatic experts to create these video series. Scroll down for me just a little bit. So for example, the very first one we did was advanced coin grading with Jeff Garrett and Don Ketterling. And so they sat with me and we produced 10 videos, and each video goes over an aspect of advanced grading. Okay. And so they discuss their experiences, what to look out for, how to approach advanced grading. We then sat with Don Bonzer and Jim 𝗖𝗪𝗂𝗃. Jim 𝗖𝗪𝗂𝗃, of course, from Heritage Auctions. Don Bonzer was the ANA Dealer of the Year this past year. We sat with them and we had them walk through grading U.S. coins in 10 episodes. So looking at mint state grading, circulated grading, how do you determine? They are looking at coins under the scope. And so each series, click on Get Started on one of them. It doesn't matter which one.
Okay. Errors.
Yes, this is our newest one with Greg Bennett. So each episode, there's 10 episodes. Each episode goes through an aspect of that topic. So you can watch about the history of error hobby. You can watch about errors, planchet errors. There's a whole video on die errors. There's a whole bit. So basically, it's 10 episodes, each providing a different aspect on errors with an expert who's walking you through this knowledge. And so our goal is each year to add 2 new video series to our collection.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It's just a way of preserving knowledge. We want to make sure we have the knowledge from these people. They teach at our summer seminar every summer, but they have such wealth of knowledge that if we can get it and put it in this format that's accessible and easy for people. Each episode is 30 minutes or less because they're designed for best attention spans. People can watch kind of what they're interested in and learn that way.
Yeah, this is interesting. That's our dynamic, is that we've been focusing on education. It's so important. It's like, we don't want people to lose out on their money, or, we kind of feel like, that because they kind of ran into some, scams or some type of counterfeiting, that they're not, they're a little bit more reluctant to join,
Yeah.
So it's good,
or they watch a TikTok video.
Yeah, TikTok.
The bane of my existence. Yes, they watch a
my
TikTok
goodness.
video and think they're rich, and it's like,
we get so many of those responses through Facebook. They're like, "Hey, I have some pennies."
Yeah.
They're like,
they have wheat on the back, right? Or I
Wheat
found this
penny.
quarter. I found this quarter and it's got a drummer on it, and it's from 1776. And I'm like, no. And I'm not making fun of people. I mean, because people aren't educated on it. So, but it is a matter of, a lot of people like to put the wrong information out there.
Yes, yes.
And they don't necessarily know that they're putting the wrong information out there. So, that's our goal, is to cut down on that call of the person who thinks they have the 1943 copper and say, is it magnetic? Well, yeah, but okay, there's no but. It's magnetic. It's not worth, it's counterfeit, or it's discolored, or something's happened. So, just those little things add up.
Yeah. What are some of the kind of misconceptions that you run into for, people joining the industry?
Yeah, I think, I think the biggest misconception is that coin collecting's dying in some way.
Right.
That with crypto and with everything being through your bank online banking, debit cards, that coin collecting is going to die, and that the youth aren't interested anymore. And that, and the thing that I want to debunk about this misconception is that coin collecting has been popular for a very long time, forever, really, since money's existed, which is pretty much forever. And that, we're still, as I mentioned earlier, we're still collecting a lot of the same coins. I have kids that are interested in, creating a Mercury dime set, Buffalo nickel set, or who have this wish list dream of one day I'm going to own one of the, 200 of these that were ever made. And so, it's not necessarily about what's being put out. It's about the history and the stories behind these coins that are always going to be intriguing. We have, like I mentioned, we started the Young Numismatists of America Coin Club, virtual coin club, in March of this year. We started with about 20 kids, and now we're up to over 100 kids. They have a monthly meeting first Friday. They virtually, they have their own newsletter. Their first newsletter was 60 some pages long, and it's all original writing that they've done. They do it monthly. It's still like over 30, 40 pages a month. It's on our website. You can find through our youth activities. They're incredible. They're incredible writers, and they're incredible researchers. And they're the ones that are going to be teaching summer seminar in 10 years. And they're the ones that are going to be writing for the numismatists. And and there are a lot of them. I don't want people to think, well, there aren't any anymore, because that's just not what we're seeing.
I mean, it's an old hobby, but it's still current, and it's still relative to how our personal lives and financial aspects, being able to, and also just collecting in general, like we mentioned about nostalgia before the stream, how that gives that type of emotional feeling towards collecting, and and also in this case financially is hard asset, I guess, in a lot of sense as well too, but it goes hand in hand. But yeah, having that kind of knack for collecting is most important.
Yeah, I mean, I have kids asking. They have a message board, and that we manage and monitor. But they're asking, should I sell to each other? With silver being so high right now, should I sell some of my lower grade coins and wait for the market to drop and then be able to upgrade to higher grade? They're asking those questions, and they are thinking about the market, and they are aware of where silver is, and they are aware of trends, and that to me is amazing. And it's impressive because they are tuned in to what's happening.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, John, I think you are. I don't think I have you muted, but I'm not sure where the audio is.
Your mouth is moving.
Yeah, your mouth was
I hear
moving.
nothing.
Okay,
like, is he talking to me?
Let me change some set. Let's see if it automatically does it.
How about now?
What about now?
Hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I tried to interject a few times, and then I realized.
Oh, sorry, John.
Going back real quick to the fakes, I've been seeing more and more. Luckily, I shouldn't say luckily, in a good way. Some of them are really crappy coming from China, so they're very quick. You can easily see. But if you're not in the business, right? If you don't know anything, you think that's the person. In fact, 2 days ago or 3 days ago on Monday, I had a gentleman come in my office with, I don't know, 5 or 6, maybe 10 PCGS slabs, what he thought were PCGS slabs. And as soon as I put them in my hand, I hold these all day, every day. So it's like second nature. But I was like, Doc, this is wrong. I said, well, let's go to PCGS Coinfax and verify. And so what they did was they did have an actual number that was used with PCGS, but it was a different coin.
The coin didn't match. Yeah, we see that a lot where the coin is different. And when I was giving that example about Jeff Garrett, in his shop making this mistake and this person coming back, that's what happened. He went home and he did the thing, and he's like, "This isn't. It looks close to it, but it's not. This is not the same coin."
Yeah, it's I don't know how it slows down, but it's fantastic that organizations like yours and others are on the forefront of trying to at least curb the inflow of these pieces coming in that, people are spending their hard-earned dollars and they're getting, obviously not what they think. And the other thing was the TikTok and Instagram reels with, this coin sold or could be worth $1 million, and it's like you said, a drummer boy, the bicentennial quarter, and it's just, so Dustin and I are always talking about this, and it's like my phone is ringing constantly with people that just found something in their change. So part of me for a while was getting kind of, I don't want to say pissed off, but agitated that I'm getting all these calls and then people trying to come to the office because they have something. But on the other side, flip side, I was like, well, it's also getting people engaged and curious about coins.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So, 6 of one, half a dozen of another. If anything, to me, that gets people engaged in this hobby is a good thing. And so when you said that you don't see any slowdown in the younger generation getting involved and wanting to know more about this, I loved hearing that, because that for years has been a fear as an owner of being a coin dealer. It's a lot of, as a lot of the people that collect and invest in the coins that we provide are older, let's say 55 up into the 90s, with most of them being in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yep.
Oh, it's like my thing for years is, how do we get people, a younger generation, interested and involved in this wonderful hobby? And
I'm sorry, I mean, but like what we see when you look at, like, one of the questions we ask people in the NDP, the Numismatic Diploma Program, is what's your origin story, right? Something led you here to be in this class, and share it with others, because it may be similar, it may be very different. And this is a random number, but I'm gonna say 90% of the time, somebody's a kid, their grandfather died and left them their coins, and they became a collector, right? Or they found something in their change and they kept it, and then they collected other things related to it, right? So it's a very similar story, and they become collectors and they love collecting, and then they go to college, they get married, they have kids, they have a job. Is that me doing that interference, or no?
I'm not sure.
Okay. And the job or whatever. And so then they quit, right? They've got life. Then they retire, and that cycle comes back. They want to collect. So most of our collectors are very young or very old. So it's a question of, how do you keep people in that interest through those years where they're just so busy with soccer practice and the dentist and family dinners and, making the mortgage and all those things. And so that's one of the benefits of going online with a lot of our education, is you can do it. I have 15 minutes here, or it's Christmas break and I have time to go through and watch this video series, or I can start and stop. That's one of our approaches to doing that, because it really does keep people going the whole time. But as far as the number of entry of kids, it's you should be very happy to hear it's not going anywhere.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I want to kind of tie this together with like some of your educational background. So like, what was kind of like the maybe some of your like ways of educating when it came to like how that correlated into joining the hobby and becoming an educator in numismatics? Like how did that like correlate, and do a lot of those kind of ways of teaching that you've previously educated others like apply to new
Sure.
people?
Yeah, like I said, when I started teaching, I was trained and I taught under that respect of, you know, who started the American Revolution? Who were the people? Why were they important? What happened? Why was the tea dumped? What did the tea mean? How do we do this? How do we do that? Everything was fact based, but also on the cusp of this new approach to learning. And as the internet came and became a mainstay of classrooms in every home, and cell phones, oh my God, access to information with cell phones, it became not a matter of what was important and who was important, but it was a matter of how do I find that out and discover that on my own? Because there's so much information out there. And the same thing's true with coins. How do I determine if what I'm reading is on a blog about counterfeits? How do I determine if that is some collector giving his opinion who has no training, who just has touched 10 coins and thinks he's an expert, or someone who's been doing it for 38 years and they've seen every coin? And the biggest thing that you will hear from collectors at our summer seminar, from teachers at our summer seminar, from collectors of anything, we talked before this about Pokemon cards and collecting Smurfs and whatever, you learn the feel. You can tell by the touch because you've touched so many coins. You've seen so many coins. So my biggest advice, and the thing coming from the world of education that I think crosses over, is the more you do it, the better you're going to be at it. So whether that's writing an essay, for college, or whether that is deciding if a coin's authentic or not, or deciding the grade of a coin, you've got to do it and you've got to practice it over and over and over again. And that's one thing too that makes coin collecting this kind of, in my opinion, not hobby that's going to be very hard to kill if it ever dies, is the tangible benefit. I can touch an artifact. I can touch something that maybe Caesar touched. I can touch something that no one has touched 2,000 years. Oh my gosh, I'm the first person to touch it. Like, if you had those conversations, and I used to have those conversations in my classroom, because we would do I'd get a hoard of old ancient coins, not worth much in actual value, but for the kids to be able to touch something no one else has touched, and then to think about what that story is and what they learn about Roman history and about war and conquest and leaving everything behind, and all these things, all these other mini stories that come up. So bringing that into numismatics and saying, hey, there's a reason why this is interesting, or this is collected, or why this is a story. I do want to mention one thing, because I saw somebody pop up in the chat that says hardcore collectors also collect state quarters. 100%. There was no hate on state quarter collectors. Okay. Like, it's totally, like I said, I collect pop culture coins, and I hear people all the time that are like, yeah, that's not real collecting because it's not US type coins, and I'm like, come on, like, no. No. What we do see, though, is we see a very specific field of people who are obsessed with the same coins for hundreds of years. And that's all I meant by that.
Yeah. Oh, John. Okay, let me fix your audio again. You were clipping earlier, so okay. I think you're good now.
It's known as the hobby of kings for a reason. Like you said, it's been around. Quick story based off what you just said, Christian. I have this sand dollar, right? Gold sand dollar. And the story here is that when I was a kid, my father was a dentist. And so back then, almost everyone had gold fillings. It wasn't like nowadays you get these cheap things in your teeth. Gold fillings. Right. All these older customers, and they'd pull their teeth and put them all in kind of like, a bucket, let's say. And at the end of the year, we'd go down in the basement, and my job was to take those teeth out and put a torch on them, and the gold pops away from the teeth, throw the teeth away, and then he'd melt down the gold. And this is one of the things that was made, the sand dollar.
Oh, wow.
So when you were saying about, who had owned this piece, when I get a gold piece of whether it's just a raw bullion coin or definitely with graded coins, this happens all the time. A graded gold coin, something of high value. My thought immediately goes to who's owned this. Like maybe Julius Caesar had this in his hands at one time. Maybe Marcus Aurelius did. Name the person in history, because gold can't be destroyed. So
Right.
This has been melted, used, remelted, used, and to me, that is you have history literally bundled in your hands, like coveted. I covet it in my hand
Right.
because of the history that's built into literally a piece of metal. It kind of doesn't make sense, but it does. So,
Well, it totally does. I mean, it's, when you think about being coming from the world of history and being a history teacher, we talk about primary sources, right? Primary source existed at the scene. So archaeologists deal with primary sources all the time. Yes, we have documents and written documents, but the bigger story than documents, because documents are written by the victors or by one side or by the people in power or whatever. What we have these real things, and we can look at why did they put that on their coin, and how is that different? So, like, one of the questions in our numismatic diploma program, we have people look at ancient Greek coins and ancient Roman coins, and we go, what's different, right? And it's not yes, they have faces, right? But you're looking at faces of the gods versus faces of the Caesars, right? And you're looking at animals and things related to nature and mythical things in Greece, and you're looking at power. And how does that like reflect their cultures? You're looking at Rome, known as the Great Empire. Well, their coins reflect that. And so what are these messages that we can get from these pieces and to actually touch them? And that's one reason why I think, people worry again about cryptocurrency, NFTs. They're going to replace coin collecting, or coin collecting is going to disappear, but there is that power in being able to touch that and to have that. And I think that is the most sustainable thing in coin collecting.
Agreed.
Yeah,
I thought that story with your necklace was going to get really dark. I was like, he's talking about, he's like, my dad would give them the monkey gas, and we'd go out in the back and we'd start be like, yeah, you got fillings.
Get all his teeth out.
Yeah, I got. Oh, that needs to be pulled.
That looks worth it.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Yeah, let's jump into some of the community questions here. We have some questions from our audience. How can parents introduce kids to collecting without overwhelming them?
I think, obviously I could sit here and toot my horn about A&A programs. We have programs on our website for kids. One of the programs is called Coins for A's. Kids send in their report card. We send them a free world coin. It gets them that initial coin and gets them interested in collecting. And then they can do other projects where they look at like US coins, where they do scavenger hunts. I think on a more basic level, it's a matter of taking your change. And I know a lot of people don't have change. My dad handed me like $58 in cash yesterday. And I was like, what's this for? And he's like, I don't like cash. And I'm like, since when? And like, he's like, I just forget I have it now. And I won't, I'm like, okay, well, continue to give me a cash influx. That'll be okay. We'll work on that. But like, go to the bank and get a roll of quarters and go through the quarters. Are they state quarters? Are they the Eagle quarters? Are they women's quarters? Are they national parks? Like, these things are very easy and accessible. Have the kids sort them. Which ones go here? How can you tell? Oh, look, this has reading on it. This has edges on it. This has, why does this have letters? Why does this have, right? So there are very, dependent on age level, there are very easy entry ways into collecting that start with change, that you don't have to have anything expensive. When I talk to a lot of collectors who are in their 90s now, a lot of them did start during the Great Depression, just sorting a coin when they would get it, and they would see something they thought was special and they would hold it, right? And so giving that experience to your kids, it's not as easy as it was when I was a kid, when you go to McDonald's and you get the change, right? And you're like, oh, why is there a Canadian coin in here? whatever.
I used to do
But
that.
you can make it happen. I even encourage, if you have a big old, a lot of families have the big old containers they drop their change in for years. Bring it out of the attic, dig it, like whatever is accessible and easy is going to be an easy entryway for kids. That would be my recommendation.
Yeah, there's a lot of ways to introduce children to the fold. So yeah, don't get too overwhelmed. Maybe just, small footsteps into the hobby before you jump
And I
into
think even for me when I was teaching, connecting it to something in history, connecting something cool, like maybe it's a family artifact or something, but just finding that coin that has some kind of message. I mean, that would totally like just enthrall me, right? And then I would want to begin collecting as a kid. Anything like that.
Okay. Well, let's hope that answered your question. Eddie Gaming. All right. Who else do we have? Here's some other questions from some other people. Okay, here's a good one. Do informed collectors make different purchasing decisions than uninformed buyers?
I'm going to say yes and no. Obviously, it depends on the situation and the person. We have informed collectors. Again, when we use the word informed and you use the word informed there, I would change that to educated collectors. They do make different purchasing decisions, especially from people who are uninformed and do things quickly. The biggest thing right now is we hear that silver's at this high peak and everyone's like, oh my God, I got to get silver right now, or I've got to buy bullion, or I've got to stock up, or, oh, the economy's going to collapse. I need gold in my basement. And, whatever that influence is, informed and educated collectors have seen cycles for years. One of the things that Jeff Garrett talked about in the 𝗘𝗱𝘂𝗰𝘁𝗶𝗂𝗰𝘁𝗶 series I was talking about is the gold boom of the early 80s. That's right when he got into grading, right? And it was this huge, massive thing. And gold, prices were ridiculous, right? And we're seeing that again because it's cyclical. Economics is cyclical. Things go up, things come down. And so, informed collectors or educated collectors know that, and they know they make those decisions of, is this a good time to sell this grade and wait and buy a higher grade? Or is this a good time to buy this based on this rate? And that's not to say, kind of like the stock market, it's not to say that they're always going to hit, even if they are educated and informed. But going in blind is very dangerous, and those decisions are very different.
Yeah, and can be expensive.
Expensive mistakes sometimes too, right? Like, I collect silver rounds. I was telling him because I'm a pop culture collector and a commemorative collector, and so I could get a silver round, 1 ounce silver, $30-$40 with something cool on it, like the Batarang or Smurf, or like pop culture, and there's no way right now I would go buying those. Like, there's no way because of the cost of the silver, right? But it's like buying a home. You have to know if it's above your price range at this point, you've got to wait for the market to shift. And I can't predict that. No one can. We can make predictions, and economists can make predictions, and but things happen, and yeah, we don't know.
No one knows, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see. Let's see. That's a question here. How do coins bring history and economics to life in ways textbooks can't not?
So as a lifelong educator here and student, I hate textbooks, and I always have. I think textbooks are great to package certain things and information, but tangible history, things you can touch, things you can see, museums, museum exhibits, coins are a beautiful way in the classroom to talk about, like even at an elementary school, if you're in Connecticut, pass out Connecticut state quarters to the kids, right? That doesn't cost you that much money. Pass out Connecticut state quarters, let them keep it, and talk about why Connecticut has what Connecticut has. Talk about why Connecticut was released in that year that it was released. What was it? What does it mean to be a 13 colony? What does it mean? So I think that the history, the economics, all of that is there. And coins are so tied into that because, as John said, the hobby of kings, it's been going, it used to be that kings could afford these coins, right? More and more people can afford some of these cool things, but you don't have to spend a lot of money to be able to bring those things into a classroom.
True. That'd be interesting to see a state quarter handed out to children. Yeah, that'd be exciting. I'd be excited.
Yeah, I mean, I exhibit. This year is the first year I did it, but I went to the National Conference for Social Studies. They have it once a year, and there's thousands of social studies teachers. And I exhibited for the ANA, and I exhibited our lesson plans because we have a new series of lesson plans that are all modern practices for teachers, inquiry based. They use our exhibits in the museum. So you're actually looking at real coins. You're not just kind of generalizing. But I made little starter kits based on our inventory, right? And each starter kit was a state quarter, a national parks quarter, women's quarter, but also an Australian coin because it shows imperialism. You see the queen on one side, you see a kangaroo on the other, right? And so not all of the lesson plans, but a lot of the lesson plans had a coin that tied into them. Right. So I get people to my booth, obviously, by yelling, "Hey, free money, free money." Yeah, it's worth about $1 your pack. Right. But, if they actually, I'm like, you could go, I'm not losing anything for the ANA if they take 75 cents and they go buy a soda and a vending machine. Right. It's their loss ultimately. But the coins, most of them as educators will take those back and use those as examples in their classroom that kids can pass around and touch as they're looking at all these other things.
It's a great.
That's a great way to educate children. Over here, there are a few minutes left. John, you're at a hard stop. Christian, if you wanted to stay on a little bit longer, if you're wanting to get some more questions and show people what you're doing with ANA. John, any final words before you have to take off, or are you gonna stay with us?
I'm going to take off, but I just wanted to thank Christian for joining us today. Thank you so much for all the work you're doing over there, and a new approach to bringing enlightenment of this hobby was needed. And when you were showing the ANA site, it was noticeably different than the last time I was on there, which was I mean I go on there often, but going through the different options is probably a couple of years. So thank you so much for that, because this is a wonderful business. It's a wonderful hobby. And there's so much education that if you like education and learning new things with coins, you'll never be at a loss for new things. I mean, you could literally spend a lifetime learning everything there is to know about mercury dimes or buffalo nickels. So much here to offer to everyone, whether you have a little to spend or a lot to spend. And that's what's beautiful about this, is that everyone can have the same enjoyment, same feeling of finishing that set, getting a last coin. I finally found it. And that could be with a cheap set or something like we see these high-end collectors do, like D.L. Hansen putting together, what he put together, or there's just the opportunities and the fun is endless. So thank you so much for coming on today, and we hope to see you again on one of our panel shows.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Like I said, anytime I get to talk about education, it's exciting. And especially in the world of coins. I've learned that numismatists are able to tolerate a lot of really boring information. And I don't mean that as an insult, but my point is they have very long attention spans for information they're interested in. And so to be able to make that more exciting, more engaging, and more relevant they're the group to go after, right? Because they're already in. Now you're making it something that they can be excited about learning to make them better at their hobby.
Well, thank you guys. This was wonderful.
Thanks.
Oh, thanks, John.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, see you soon. All right, yeah, there's some more questions from the community, and then we'll touch on some of your personal
Okay.
endeavors as well, because we haven't touched about the Smurfs. So I want to get everyone,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure the ANA will love me talking about Smurfs forever, but we got the important stuff out of the way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we got the educational aspects of ANA.
Yeah.
Let's see how the youth program is changing the future of the hobby. I guess we kind of touched on that, but how are the youth programs changing the future of the hobby?
Yeah, so they are changing the future. They are picking up on old habits and old things, like for example our YNA virtual coin club. Absolutely. The kids, they have a newsletter, which is very traditional to a coin club, and they meet once a month and they have their bylaws. And so we see a lot of those things that have been happening for years, but we also see them embracing newer technologies and newer approaches to getting coins, different avenues that people traditionally haven't necessarily used, as well as just different sources of information. They're able to dig into archives and find things because those archives are electronic and they can do it from their bedroom or their living room. And so that not having a fear of technology, I think, is going to be the biggest thing we see changing and shifting.
Yeah, technology definitely plays a huge role. Like you mentioned, like TikTok and maybe misinformation, but even TikTok itself could, if the right educators and the right individuals educate a wider audience for younger generations to come into the fold, the hobby, be a way to be able to capture that demographic that's using technology to their advantage. So
absolutely,
yeah. So yeah, that's where we're at. I know you guys are big on YouTube. I'll show you guys.
We are, and we're also, we're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We are on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We have a social media manager now in our marketing department. So we have someone dedicated to social media education and getting our information out there. We're working on optimizing our videos currently. I think eventually we do want to go into video shorts, maybe on TikTok, definitely on Instagram. That's all part of the plan. It just takes time to get there. But we've dedicated a time and space for that, which has been incredibly helpful.
Yeah, I've seen you guys posting on X and LinkedIn just constantly, and I'm like in the middle of the night pretty much, and I'm like, you guys are still active. So your marketing team is just killing it. But I'd love to see shorts on TikToks, like fun, like hey, this is how you get in the hobby, this is what we're doing, I love that type of education, and there's a huge gap in that. So you guys could definitely fill that gap, and I know we're trying to, we're doing our thing too, but there's just so much room to improve in the industry, in the hobby, and bringing that audience into the space. So kudos to your guys' marketing.
Definitely in our plan. So it's been kind of a game changer having that person who has that time and space to do that.
100%. They're on it. I think was it Liv?
Liv. Liv is our social media manager and our community manager. And I know it's on her agenda for all those things we just talked about. And she's the reason we do have constant posts, and we do have the interactions we have, and we do have monitoring of our social media and things like that now. So she's been killing it.
I see the growth. I've been keeping an eye on you guys for a while. So it's good. It's good to kind of full circle have you guys on here and seeing the improvement on the website and socials, and it's good to see that. So we'll touch on your collecting history. I know we're at the hour. We'll go a little bit here. I know it could go longer, but what is your collecting history? You mentioned Smurfs,
vintage Smurfs. Okay. So I was saying I started collecting when I was a kid. My dad collected baseball cards. And of course, we're talking late 80s, early 90s, right? Like everybody collected baseball cards, and it was an investment, supposedly. And I mean, they were everywhere. And so I started collecting ALF cards, the TV show ALF.
Yep.
Yes, the alien who lived with people. Yeah, ALF, the ALF.
Yeah.
Actually, I have a little ALF here. Here's a little ALF.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right on my desk. But yeah, so I started collecting cards, and I just got into that feeling of like connection and that excitement of finding the next piece. And so I've always been a collector. When I interviewed for the job at the AMA, I currently am a huge collector of vintage Smurfs. So I collect pre-1990 Smurfs. And what people don't know is that Smurfs have, and like cards, like almost anything you collect, they're very specific pieces of it. For example, they've minted them. I'm sorry. See, look at this. The molds were made. The Smurfs were made. They were born. And the biggest mints were Hong Kong, to this day, Hong Kong, West Germany. Okay, now Germany now, but West Germany. A lot of Smurfs, vintage Smurfs that I collect, say West Germany on the bottom, were the two biggest. And then other countries had rights to certain Smurfs. Portugal, Brazil at one point, Argentina at one point. So, you know, there are these, where was it made, right? Was it made in Philadelphia, Denver, San Francisco, West Point? Like I get into that, right? That comparison. Right. But also you have varieties. Like you look at the dye varieties, you look at the mold varieties. Some of the molds are slightly different. The colors are different. Some of them have errors. Some of them are painted incorrectly. So there are all of these things that connect to coin collecting and Smurf collecting. So yeah, Smurf collecting is my passion now. That's what I do when I have a little bit of extra money and time on the weekend. I go hunt for Smurfs. I do have rules. I can't buy them online because that would be cheating.
Okay.
You know, I have to find them in the wild so that I get that adrenaline, that thrill of finding something like I'm at a show, you know. I was showing you earlier, I have the Smurf book. It's like the red book, but the Smurf book that has the different varieties and the different accessories, and you can see the different colors, cars, and the dark blue versus light blue, and then the rarity of Smurf. Because there are rarities. There are some that were only ever made for like displays and things like that we don't know where they are. You know, it could be in your local antique store. It's right.
That's true.
So yeah, that's when I had this conversation in my interview, because they asked me if I was a collector, and I was just like, do I, don't I, do I, don't I? Okay, I'm going.
Yeah, right. That's something
like, am I going to weird people out? I'm talking to the, you know, the board president, the future board president. I'm talking to the executive director, you know, curator, you know, and I did. And they let me talk about Smurfs. They let me talk about Smurfs for a solid 15 minutes. I mean, I was to the point of, where are they feudal? Are they communist? Or are they wearing liberty caps? And I was like, these are my people. I was like, this is where I need this. If they don't want to hire me, I'm hiring me for them.
That's the breaking point. Yeah.
This is where I need to be.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. To really like.
And I have the Smurf, you know, I have the crossover, the Smurf coin collector. It's got Papa on the back. I also have a Smurf stamp. I have a stamp that has a Smurf Euro coin on it. So it's a stamp, a Smurf, and a coin represented in one object. So yeah. I'm not a stamp collector, but I had to buy it because it had a Smurf coin on it. I mean, so it's a stamp with a Smurf coin. Yeah. So I work on my crossover. I'm a big fan of crossover collecting because there are so many ways to do it, not just with pop culture Smurfs. So
do you find that in like other like pop culture with Smurfs? Do you see them like kind of show up as like a
it's, you know,
irrelevant kind of thing. Like
I
90s.
do. You know, I take issue, and you know, we talked about this before the show a little bit about the
Right.
reasons people collect. Like, there's nostalgia, there's all kinds of things that, you know, there's the treasure hunt, all of that. So I like the original blue Smurfs, the original blue color of the 80s cartoon that came on Saturday morning, right? And of course, the Smurfs have been redone and rethought. And, you know, now there are more Smurfs. There's more than one female Smurf now.
Oh.
I don't even watch
Right.
new movies.
Oh,
People
okay.
are like, oh my God, did you see a Burger King they had? And I'm like, no.
No, it doesn't. It's not the same.
It's not. This is adult Smurf. This is not for adult Christian. This is for the childhood Christian that's still living in here, right?
Let's
Like,
keep it relevant.
yeah, let's just come on. Like, what? But people always think of me when they see Smurf. So you see Smurfs appearing in honor of the original.
For that reason.
See, there you go. You're going to be like, oh, there's a Smurf movie. Christian's right.
I literally, I was going to say that was like every time I see a Smurf at this point, I'm going to think of you, and I'm like, maybe this could be a rare Smurf, you know? Like, you know?
I mean, I was in an education committee meeting, you know, like official board committee meeting, and at the end of the meeting, the current vice president of the board calls me on the phone. Now, we've just had a video chat, right? And I'm like, oh my God, what, you know, what's going on? And she's like, I was just calling because I was at the movie theater and I saw a Smurf poster and I thought of you. And I was like, oh, thank God. You know, I'm like, oh, thank God. You know, this is about Smurfs. This isn't about, you know, my funding's been cut for this project or blah, blah, blah. But yeah, no, it was just, you know, I was like, oh, I wonder if she's seen it. And I was like, you know, it's got to be you and coin collectors understand that I have a very specific error. And that if it's not in that, it's not part of my interest. I know it's still a Smurf, but you know, I can't get into that. So, it also keeps me from like spending too much money. Cause you know, people were like, oh, don't you collect everything Smurf? And I'm like, no, I have very specific boundaries, because otherwise, and then when I have everything in that, we can expand to a new category, but not yet. Because I can't afford to collect every Smurf piece of memorabilia ever made.
Oh, man, yeah, that's there's so much to unpack when it comes to like collecting, and then Smurfs in general. I'm sure, like you said, like there's all sorts of different type of coloring. And,
oh yeah, I mean the varieties are what are big. You know, I have a Smurf with a brown tennis racket and a red tennis racket, and you know the brown one's worth more because they made fewer of them. Fewer were made, and then you know, population. And I have counterfeit Smurfs. I have Smurfs that were made in Argentina and Brazil after their license was up, and they made copies of the molds and kept them and made them locally. Right, like it's so intriguing, the stories behind them, you know, and I love it. I love it. I love collecting. But I'm not a hoarder collector. Like, and I think it's because I have those boundaries, you know, like it's got to be these specific things, and it's got to be, because if I still collected ALF cards and all, you know,
oh jeez.
It would be my house would be more than one room of Smurfs.
Yeah, I was going to say you're going to need multiple rooms, an ALF room.
Yeah, or ALF room, a Smurf room. Well, to be fair, the Smurf room is Smurf/𝗘�00𝗂𝗂 room. Because I collect the 𝗘�00𝗂𝗂𝗂 figurines too. So
𝗘�00𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂. Okay.
Yeah, they live in the clouds. They live above the Smurfs.
Okay. Similar ecosystem, but like.
Absolutely, you know, it's like they've got their own.
They got their other, just like look upon the Smurfs.
And I actually have Snorks, which you may not know what Snorks are. Many people don't.
Heard of Snorks.
They were on after the Smurfs. They were like made by the same creator. They're an underwater band. They're like little Smurf-like creatures that have little snorks, right? Little things on their head. Yeah, they live in the bottom because they're under the sea.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense. So you have 3 layers of like.
I mean, yeah, kind of. Yeah, they have to
underwater, the Smurfs, and then the 𝗘�00𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂.
Yeah, it's just the way it is. Yeah.
Wow. That works well, actually.
You're like, there's a whole psychological conversation to have now.
Yeah, right. How does that work? They like
In
send
our
them a
next
signal,
episode, Christian has a therapist. She doesn't
right?
know it yet.
Like Care Bears speak to the Smurfs and
Yeah.
educate them into sentient beings.
They do. They tried to make them better.
Right? Better.
They try to keep them off drugs.
Oh, I mean, that would be lit.
Yeah.
I mean, aren't they like
Yeah.
Belgium? Isn't they from Belgium?
Yeah, the Smurfs are. And the funny thing is having lived abroad in multiple countries, like,
Yeah.
you know, Smurfs are originally called Les Schtroumpfs, which is like French, Belgian, French,
Yeah, that
whatever,
sounds
Belgium.
French, yeah.
Les Schtroumpfs. And then in Spanish, they're pitufos. Pitufo.
Pitufo.
That's what pitufos, right? And so I learned this living in Central America. And so I was living, or South America, I was living in Brazil and I was in Argentina. So I'd been speaking Portuguese, but I was in a Spanish speaking country and I couldn't get my brain to go to Spanish. And so I would just walk into an antique store and go, pitufos. And they'd be like, they knew exactly what I was talking about. They'd be like, or, you know, there was no like, no confusion. I'm like, Los Pitufos, you know.
Okay.
So yeah. So Smurfette is Pitufina.
Pitufina.
The Clumsy Smurf is Tontine, which is like kind of like clumsy dum dum, like Tontine type translation. Brainy Smurf is Philosopho, like philosopher Smurf.
Okay.
Pitufo. Yeah. So yeah, I have way too much. And that knowledge will die with me, I have no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's useful information, or you can create a series on educating, people on.
Well, to pronounce Care Bears in Spanish is very difficult. It's 𝗖𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗰𝘁𝗂𝗋. It's like little bear carrying bear, but my administrative assistant taught me that when I lived in El Salvador. She was like, "Oh, 𝗖𝗂𝗁𝗂𝗰𝘁𝗂𝗋𝗄," and I'm like, "Yeah.
Totally get it." That's exactly what I meant.
Duh.
Duh, you didn't know that?
Okay.
There one that was that.
Yeah.
All right. We'll get to the end here.
Okay.
Add to, let's see, Ernesto is the one that mentioned about the state quarters. He also mentioned something here. I think attending coin shows are an important part of the coin education. Has the ANA ever thought of sponsorships for YM?
That's a great question. Coin shows are amazing. We have money talks at coin shows where we have speakers who speak live. We do a Sunman lecture series at the World's Fair of Money that's sponsored by the Sunmans. It's a great way to learn and to also walk around and learn. And we have a lot of programming for youth, which I talked to you about. Yes. I would say we've never thought about sponsoring kids to that. But that's not a bad idea. It's something that for us to think about. We sponsor kids to come to our summer seminar. So if they want to come learn and work with instructors and have that time, we do sponsor them for that. And those sponsors and scholarships are all available to apply for online. We sponsor a lot of students. We actually do an auction at summer seminar each year for more scholarships so the kids can come for free. And if they're under 15, I think you have to be at least 13. And if you're under 15, we also pay for a parent to come with you.
Okay.
That way, you're not on your own traveling, whatever. Then at 15, 16, 17, they get their ticket and their room and board covered for summer seminar.
That's great. Yeah.
It is great. We get so many kids and they're able to create a community. I mean, it's great.
Love that. I'll see some more sponsorships going out.
Yeah.
Young Numismatics joining the fold and being part of the hobby. We'll get a little bit information. We've got Christian Strayhorn at 𝗙-Strayhorn on LinkedIn. You can check it out, American Numismatic Association, money.org, and youtube.com @money.org. And you guys have a show going on right now, actually.
We don't have a show going on. Fun has a show going on.
Oh, Fun has.
Fun does, yes. Fun. So it's in Florida. We do we have representatives there, but it's not our show. So
Okay.
our next show is in Savannah in February. So end of
Okay.
February, Savannah, Georgia is our national money show. And then we'll have our World's Fair of Money, which will be this year in Pittsburgh, and that will be in August. Yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, come check out.
Come see us. I'll be at Ernie's Treasure Tree House. Ernie is our education owl. Let me show you this. This is pretty sweet. He is. He's our mascot.
I love that.
He's our mascot for the kids, but Ernie here is.
Oh, okay. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Owl. Okay.
Yes, you have. He's on the poster right there, right?
Okay, in the back.
Yeah, this is Ernie. You can come visit him at his Treasure Tree House. He only makes live appearances like this at the World's Fair or at the shows at Ernie's Treasure Tree House or at the summer seminar. This is Ernie's nest. Ernie's nest is paper mache out of shredded money.
That's so cool.
And on the inside, it's epoxied with coins related to owls.
Oh,
so he's got like a floating nest. Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, Ernie is our kids mascot, and he's on all of our kids branding, and he loves providing free things to kids who are interested in coins.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I love the mascot. It's always a way to draw an audience.
Yeah. It was one of the first things I saw, because there wasn't a lot that was kid friendly, like geared towards kids. And on our website we had the image of Ernie. He wasn't known as Ernie then, but this owl pointing to our sill, and I'm like, that is so cute. And I'm like, well, we've named him and we're going to make him. So I sent that image up there to a company that custom makes stuffed animals, and they made him from the picture.
Oh,
yeah. So there is only one. The most expensive stuffed animal I've ever owned. There is only one. It's all right. One of a kind. Ernie the Education Owl will be at the show.
It's like a custom Build-A-Bear.
It is. It's like, yes, custom owl.
Custom owl. That's cool. All right. Yeah, I'll just share your info one more time.
Sure.
I'll share our info here. Christian Strayhorn at 𝗖cie_𝗶𝗀𝗃, American Numismatic Association, money.org, and youtube.com @money.org. Check us out. Call us 561-310-8341. uniquecoins@gmail.com. Website is coinandcurrency.net. Find us on eBay, American CC, and all our relative socials. And we'll leave everyone with some final words. What's your take on the industry? How's the young generation going? And what are some things you're excited about this coming year?
I would say I'm always excited about seeing the growing number of our online users. One of the beauty and more countries. I mean, we have people in countries across the world participating in our education programs. We have people in Italy, Russia, Ukraine. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how. In Russia and Ukraine, we have people in both countries. We have people in Germany. We have people everywhere. India, South America, different countries in South America. So, continuing to see that grow, I think I'm most excited about, and tracking it and just looking at it kind of expand and word of mouth and things like that. Our education is just now at a point to where, after having been at the ANA almost 3 years, I feel like we're caught up to where a baseline should be. So now it's time to grow. And so we're going to see some new courses. We're going to see new offerings. We're going to see new Aristotle's Vault series. And so it's a matter of continuing to keep it going and keep it growing and bringing in more kids. In March, we'll hit 1 year of the Young Numismatists of America. And so I'm excited to see that number continue to blow up, and that more and more kids are writing and getting involved and finding their spirit brothers and sisters in the virtual coin club world.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited to grow the industry more. Education is important. We're always trying to educate, always bringing in, strong leaders in the space, such as yourself, educating people and understanding that this is relevant to our daily lives, and education is very important, especially joining this hobby. So yeah, we'll leave you guys with this. Thank you so much, Christian Strayhorn, for
Thank
joining us,
you.
Education Director, ANA. This American Coin Currency Education Collecting in the Future of Coins in a Changing Financial World. Appreciate everyone being here, and check us out for next week every Thursday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.